Y así es, chavitos, brothers y brothercitas. En este video vamos a ver una conferencia importantísima y la voy a poner completa para que lean exactamente lo que dice Mark Wayne Mullen, que es el encargado de ICE, brothers, porque está dando esperanzas y dice que Trump quiere legalizar a gente que el país necesita trabajando en las industrias de la hospitalidad, agricultura y menciona otras. Esto le da esperanza, brothers, a mucha de nuestra gente que ha llegado ya con más de 10, 15, 20, 30 años trabajando y no se han podido legalizar, han pagado impuestos, no tienen récord criminal y son gente productiva en la sociedad de Estados Unidos que necesitan y merecen ser legalizados. Ahora, no con esto quiere decir que les van a dar la ciudadanía, pero a fin de cuentas, brothers, ¿qué importa si no les dan ciudadanía mientras los legalicen? Puedan trabajar con permisos para pagar impuestos, trabajar sin el miedo de que ICE se los vaya a llevar, el permiso para poder pagar impuestos y recuperar tus impuestos, porque muchos de ellos no los pueden recuperar, el hecho que puedan salir del país y regresar a trabajar sin problemas de que ICE o inmigración no los deje volver a entrar, es un sueño dorado para muchos de ellos, brothers, y es lo único que debemos exigirle a Trump y pedirle. Ahora, el mismo director de ICE, que es el nuevo, porque estaba una señora antes, este tipo que se llama Mark Wayne Mullen, es más consciente y me gusta mucho porque está muy consciente de lo que necesita el país y él mismo lo dice, que se necesita legalizar a esta gente y que están tratando de ver cómo se puede hacer porque ni los demócratas ni los republicanos se ponen de acuerdo para hacerlo porque lo ven de forma política. Si los republicanos lo hacen, los demócratas no lo van a querer apoyar. Y al revés, para que nadie se lleve la victoria de haberlos legalizado y que la gente vote por ellos. Entonces, por eso no se hace nada. Y él tiene la solución para poder hacerlo de una forma que no es política. Y por eso esta conversación tipo, pues, conferencia, brothers, es tan importante que la lean y que la vean completa. Porque por esta conversación, Mark Wayne Mullen ha sido muy criticado por muchos republicanos de super derecha, los así super mega, no, que inmigrantes, no sé qué. Y obviamente pues a toda la gente que estamos conscientes de este problema nos gustó mucho lo que dijo él, porque este tipo de gente que lleva trabajando tantos años necesitan ser legalizados en el país, aunque a los de ultraderecha no les convenga o no les guste, güey. Eso es algo que es justo, que se tiene que hacer. Gente que ha trabajado por más de 10 años en el país, pagando impuestos, siendo partes positivas y activas de la economía y de la sociedad, sin récord criminal, brothers, de verdad necesitan ya ser legalizados. Son una parte fuertísima de nuestra economía. Ellos contribuyen con el 92 billones de dólares al año. Billones con B, 92 billones de dólares al año para medical y seguro social de los impuestos que pagan estos indocumentados. No es justo que no se les ayude, no es justo que no se les dé un path, un camino a la legalización, brothers. Escúchenla, déjenme en sus comentarios lo que piensan, esto es importantísimo y compartan esta conversación. Es larga, pero vale la pena verlo porque es muy importante que los latinos en Estados Unidos lo sepamos.
We have hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, we're real close to 900,000 individuals that have been naturalized in the last 12 months. There's a legal system to go through. But if you choose not to even begin or not to change your status, even if you've been here 25 years, I can't help you for that. Right? If you have a status change and you're working in your status change, so you overstayed your visa, but you're going through the system to change your status because you got married and you've been married to a U.S. citizen for 4 years and you're going through the family visa system, you have no criminal history, you get picked up and you're in the court system and you've been showing up for your court dates, you're going to be released. You may get picked up, may be detained, may go through that process, but you're going to get released because you've been showing up, you've been going to your court system, your status is changing. If you haven't done anything, or you have a criminal background, if you have a criminal background, we're not making exceptions for you. There is no exceptions. There zero exceptions. If you're over here, you committed a crime while you're inside the United States, and you're not a citizen of the United States, you're going home. There's no exceptions to that. If you're over here and you've overstayed your visa, and you haven't changed your status, or you came in illegally, you haven't changed your status, you claimed asylum, and you have no asylum claim, There's nothing I can do for you. It's the same thing if you're driving 90 miles an hour in an 80 mile an hour turnpike zone. Yeah, they might give you a grace for 10 over, but they don't have to. Right? If you're doing 90 in a turnpike, 80 mile an hour, and you get pulled over and you got an open container, you're definitely going to jail because you broke the rules. It's the same thing here. We have rules, and the rules can be followed. Are they tough? Does it take time? Yes, but we still have immigration policy, and they have to be enforced. And people want to talk about the workforce. I understand that, but a workforce that's an illegal workforce only grows illegal activity. It doesn't grow the economy in the long term. It's a short-term solution, but it's going to be long-term problems. And so it's important that we understand that. What I encourage people to do is help yourself. You have to try to go through the system legally. If you came over and you got temporary protected status, in its name itself it says temporary. Yes, we're ending the temporary protected status because it's temporary. But that doesn't mean that while you're here underneath temporary protected status, you can't try to change your status. It doesn't mean you can't enroll to try to become an LPR. That doesn't mean you can't go for a family visa. That doesn't mean you have to just stay on TPS status, but you have to make an effort to change. And I can't help you if you can't help yourself. When it comes to dairy farms and stuff, dairy farms, for some reason, we've looked at this as a seasonal work visa. It's not seasonal. I started drinking coffee when I was 3 years old. I'm kidding about that, probably 6 though, to try to keep my hands warm in the dairy barn so I wouldn't freeze. and during the summer, you sweated to death. And so you had water, ice water. We'd freeze a gallon jug of water, milk jug of water at night and then take it to the barn with us. And so it's nothing seasonal about that. Little stuff like that needs to be fixed. A lot of our crops now that used to be seasonal, because we've changed it, we can do it year round with what we do. Those aren't seasonal because the huge greenhouses that we have now, they're not seasonal anymore. And so we're looking to change that. We're already changing it on some of this, so now some of these can be more permanent. And we're working at, I hate when we extend, our numbers on visas, because all that does is once again put a Band-Aid on it. If we're looking to grow our economy, then we need to look at making more permanent solutions on this and getting the work, not the work, but the employers involved in the system. In order to do that, though, that takes coordination between labor. Our unions still have a say in this, guys. We got to get labor involved. We got to get industry involved. And we got to fill out where the holes are created, because this narrative that it steals American jobs is true in some industries. It's not true for all industries. And we need to pay attention and be sensitive to that as we move forward, because it is America first. We want to take care of Americans first. It's our economy, it's our homeland. But there's a way to utilize labor where we're not having the participation rate we need to, and we can plug those holes.
Thank you. Well, Secretary Mullen, we were so excited that you came here to spend time with us, especially with all the family things going on. And so go get with your family in Tulsa, and congratulations on your brand new grandchild.
My wife keeps saying it's her baby. And I'm like, it's not ours. We're sleeping at night. They're not. But kind of a sad story. I just tell this offhand because so excited about the grandbaby coming, right? But my son, I felt like my job as a father was to teach my kids work ethic. I'm not going to be teaching you economics, but I can teach you how to work hard. I'm not going to teach you your Spanish classes, but I can teach you a work ethic, and we taught them that on the ranch. And so they all work hard. But my son got a job offer to go to Baku, Azerbaijan, the one having the grandbaby. And he's moving there in October. And my wife's about to have a meltdown on me. She thinks it's my fault. I'm not sure how that happened, so it's bittersweet because he's already supposed to have been there, but because she got pregnant, which was a surprise pregnancy. By the way, didn't know this, If you're on birth control and take antibiotics, evidently they cancel themselves. Not that I have to worry about that anymore, but just in case you all didn't know, or you have kids, you might let them know. It's a blessing in disguise. But he had already accepted the job offer before this took place, so he's moving in October, and we're excited for him because excited for your kids, excited for the family. But I just leave it with this too. Our family is the most important thing we have. And everybody in this room is busy. But the last thing I ever wanted to happen was my kids to think that what I do takes me away from them. I want them to know that I do it for them. And we only do that by including them in everything that we do too. And so I appreciate your all service. I appreciate your commitment to your state and to your country. I appreciate the friendship that we're building. And I mean it when I say this. The governor has my cell phone. If you need me and you're not, and for whatever reason, you don't need to go through my staff. There's not, protocols to get to me. Just call me. I guarantee you I'll return your phone call, right?
Super exciting summer for all of us. We had FIFA World Cup here. American 250 events were all across the country. And I know as governors, we want to make sure that we're safe when we have these major events. And safety is super important priority for the governors. And I know that is for you and your whole team and all your employees. So I'm interested from your perspective, how that went. I mean, I don't know how many different events that we had across the country, but it was staggering. If there are ways that we can continue to work together as we look forward, we're going to have the 28 Olympics here. And so can you talk to us a little bit about that safety piece that you have to worry about?
So when I walked in, first thing, we'd been shut down for, at that time, 46 days. And as the president said, I gave you one of our largest apartments with a payroll of $1.7 billion every 2 weeks with no money to pay it. But on top of that, we had FIFA coming in 90 days, and we were sitting on $13 billion of grants that still had to be sent out to our 11 host cities, which was being very problematic. We had contracts for counter UAS we had to get out because none of these stadiums had ever had counter UAS, even though they're existing stadiums. 11 NFL stadiums, none of them had that issue, which our world is different today than it was 6 months ago, and our world's going to look much different 6 months from now too. But what I found is I was working with a lot of patriots, and what I also found out is that our 11 host cities, a big chunk of those were cities that we typically don't have relationships with. They are sanctuary cities or sanctuary states, which has been very complicated for DHS to work with, not just ICE, because HSI is there, CBP is there. But when we were talking about FIFA, we developed such an important partnership. It was remarkable. I mean, it was absolutely remarkable. These cities were still putting their foot forward. They were still cooperating on a state level, on a local level, from a federal level. And even though the grants hadn't even flown in yet, they were forwarding the money out. The NOC was still moving in. The Joint Task Force was still working. People in the Joint Task Force, it went 76 days without getting paid, which is unbelievable, and people were still showing up. So you're talking about patriots. I walked in, when I say that I haven't quit smiling since I walked in this job, is because I walked in with the ultimate litany test. Will you do your job for free? And everybody there that was indeed, we had it completely resolved. We had no major issues. We had prepared for the worst day, but we were able to thwart every one of the threats that came in. And what I have hoped is that because of this great partnership we have had, and the highlight that we can do when we work together without anybody going out there and touting their chest, without anybody going out there and trying to take credit for stuff. Well, Cash Patel did, but that's a different deal. I already asked about that. I was like, how did FBI get the credit for having the most secured World Cup ever in history? I was like, I didn't know FBI had that. And but he said it in Hannity, so it became true. And anyway, side squirrel. So I did bust his chops a little bit on that one though, but I just proved that we could work together. And what I've asked my mayors and the governors that I've talked to since the World Cup has been over with is, let's continue that, right? I'm not out there trying to run for anything. I'm not going to run for governor. Never. No interest in ever doing that. I have no interest of ever running for president. I told the president when he asked me to go in his cabinet, I said, I'm part of the only, or one of the only people in your cabinet that have no desire to ever run for office again. It's been fun. I've enjoyed serving the public, but when my time's over, I'm going to the private sector. I'm good. But right now, my number one goal is to protect our country. And I have the greatest mission, period, to protect our homeland. And I think every governor in this room has that same mindset. You don't see me out on TV. I'm not out there. I did 430 national hits last year. So far, since I've been in office, which is since March 20th something, I forget what actual day I was sworn in, I've done less than 15. Because my goal is if I'm not a hot commodity, not meaning in a hot commodity like for sale, but a hot commodity meaning that it's contentious, that we can all do our job and protect our backyards. But I can't do it without cooperation from everybody. We cooperated during FIFA and we proved that we could do something great. We confiscated over 400,000 counterfeit items. We set up stings for human trafficking in every city we hosted in and rescued over 170 women and underage girls. We arrested over 400 people connected with it, and not one report came out during that time. No one was out there talking about it. We did it because we were able to work together. And what my hope would be is, yes, we're taking the same task force, we're spinning it all already into LA 28. The president and I actually spoke about that the other day. I said, I want to keep my team together. Let me just spin that. In fact, that conversation happened yesterday at Camp David. I said, let's just spin that same group because actually LA 28 is less complicated than what we did with World Cup. LA 28 is 2 weeks in Oklahoma and LA. World Cup was 13 games in Mexico, 13 games in Canada. We had base camps all over the country. We had 11 host cities, 78 games in 38 days. It was a monumental task, and plus fan fests everywhere. So it's going to be very complicated because the diplomats that come in, but it's not going to be as complicated because it's a security ring we can have. But we can't do it once again without the partnership, and I just want to spin this into it. And I'm not trying to be controversial, I'm just showing that we can do it, and I'm not out there trying to throw you underneath the bus. I'm not out there trying to throw us as some savior of the country because we can't do it without you guys. I'm saying we can work together if we will, but right now, I pulled this statistic up on the drive up here. And I'm not picking, I guess I am picking on them, but I'm just using New York as an example, okay? In New York, as it stands right now, New York City, we have 15,000 retainers on individuals that have been convicted of crimes and that are about ready to be released out of jail. This is in New York City alone. 0 have been honored. In New York State, on top of that 15,000, we have 27,000 detainers out. Out of those 27,000 retainers, it represents 41,000 crimes. And every one of these individuals are in prison, so they've been convicted, and they're about ready to be released back onto our streets. Now, a detainer means that they don't have a status to be in the country anymore. Though these aren't individuals that are here on a work visa. These are individuals that were here because they came in illegally or they've overstayed. They've been convicted, so they're not in the court system. They have been convicted of a crime. And if we could just get those individuals just in New York City, we'll remove almost 40,000 criminals off the streets that were going to be released. That's just one state. I pulled it on the top 10 states that aren't cooperating with us. We have 110,000 retainers on people that are in prison in the top 10 states that have been convicted of a crime or crimes, most of them are convicted more than once, that are going to be released, and not one of the retainers have been honored. Now, that shouldn't be controversial. We're not doing job site raids. We're not going to Home Depot and raiding the parking lot. These are individuals that have already been convicted of a crime. If there's anything that we should agree on, is those individuals that are in prison that your state had already convicted shouldn't be released back on the streets. We should arrest those individuals or to grab them before you release them and ship them back out. That's providing safety for our streets, your streets, and guess what? There's no fanfare. ICE isn't doing any raids. We're not kicking in the door. We're not doing traffic stops. We're simply grabbing those individuals when they leave, because here's the other alternative. The other alternative is they're released into your state. We know where they go because we already have a detainer on them, so we're watching them anyways. When they leave, we're going to arrest them. And then we're going to arrest them in a public space, which could cause more problems and put our officers at risk, the public at risk, and the person that we're serving the detainer at risk. And so what I'm saying is, let me work with you on this stuff. I'm not handling things like maybe the past secretary had. I'm just saying, let's work to get the worst of the worst off the streets, and then you won't see me in your cities and states like you do as much, because my presence won't be as big. In fact, you probably won't even see us at all. So,
yeah. Thank you. And just to piggyback on that, Oklahoma, just quietly behind the scenes, I think we have done exactly that. And it's just all been behind the scenes. People in prison, and from my perspective, I'm like, okay, they're in prison. I don't want them on our tax dollars anyway. And so we're turning those over, and then we're getting them out.
The state doesn't have to feed them and house them.
Yeah.
If you don't have to, we'll pick them up. Some states give them to us as soon as they're convicted before they even fulfill their time, because it's like it's cheaper for us. Why would we keep them in prison and feed them, house them, do all that stuff, and it costs us X amount of dollars a day? Why don't we just go ahead and give them to you and let you have custody of them and get them out even though they've been convicted? One thing I want to say about Oklahoma. Oklahoma's population is what, 4.3 million?
Yeah, somewhere
like that, like the population of Miami or something. I don't know. And
what's with the ball? What is this here?
A comfort blanket? I don't know. All right, the ball.
I've never.
I have the ball. I usually put it in my pocket.
Okay.
But I don't sleep a whole lot. I never have. I go about 4 hours of sleep. How many of you guys grew up milking on a dairy? Anybody in here? Okay, I got one guy. I figured you, because you had a hat on too. Okay, so we milked at 4 in the morning. So that means you got your butt up at 3. I had to be at the barn at 3:30. Go to bed, and the cows come in at 4. If you want to do that, you learn to go without sleep, because I still like to date. So I've learned to go without sleep. But because I go without sleep, if I slow down, I get tired quick. So this kind of keeps me in a rhythm. People say it's my stress ball. I don't squeeze it, and I don't have stress in my life. I don't stress about anything. A day's a day. But it just keeps me going. That's just my rhythm on it. So that's with the ball.
I love it.
So to go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 4.3 million people. Because of the cooperation we have with the governor in this great state of Oklahoma, the state troopers, our county sheriffs, our state municipalities, we have 76 out of 77 counties that participate fully in the 287G program. It's not on the news. You don't see us around because the state is doing most of the work. We refund them. We sent the state of Oklahoma $300,000 recently for reimbursements for working with the 287G program. And they make more illegal arrest on the 287G program than 48 other states. The only state that arrests more people than us is the state of Florida. And you're not seeing the news on this. You're not seeing this all around. And we're not just arresting people that are living in Oklahoma. We're arresting people that are transporting illegal material and contraband and human trafficking that's going across our state. But because we have such a great cooperation, we're able to do that. And they get paid for it. So it is something. It's amazing because of what takes place.
Well, and I want to talk about that in a second. We'll probably have a few questions. But let me switch topics real quick, because FEMA is a big issue for all of us governors. I think we can all agree that changes are needed to cut some of the red tape and help communities recover from disasters faster. It was a pleasure. We hosted FEMA here. President FEMA Review Council here in Oklahoma City, and it was great to see they did that final recommendation of the president this spring, and you've already made some of those changes by removing the $100,000 secretary review on approval that, for FEMA funding. But as governors, we have a lot of skin in the game as we are dealing with disasters in our state. What can we expect from our federal partners so we can work with our state legislature, emergency managers, to put resources in place in advance of disasters? And what are you able to share with us about the future of FEMA and what states can expect from FEMA when a disaster strikes, God forbid, in our other states this year?
So the president is fully engaged on this. In fact, the president is fully engaged on everything, and I mean that sincerely. Like, he's very interested. He doesn't get down into the weeds. He stays at about 30,000 foot level. But from FIFA to everything I've talked to about the 287G program, everything that we do, not just my department, but all of them, it's amazing. The guy that sleeps less than I do. But with FIFA, he's really involved. And the reason why he is because the states, some states, have become so reliant on the federal government with FEMA that they haven't done the disaster preparation that they should do in their own states. And it's just bloated FEMA, and it's stressed our resources. And from FEMA being there to be a backstop on the state's very, very worst day, not every storm that comes across. I mean, not every snowstorm that you have to get the snow plows on, not every time a fire hits your state, not every time a big storm, windstorm, straight winds, whatever it is that hits your state. That isn't FEMA's main role. We're there for the worst of those storms. And we've become ever since Katrina, really, it's like we bloated, and we've become the first responders. It's the first place everybody goes. Before the disaster even hits, I have governors that are calling me saying, hey, we need to be prepared for this. We're going to have this on the disaster. We're going to be sending it to you. Can you go ahead and activate your team? It's like, hold on, we can't activate them until you do your part first. And then when you do your part, then we can activate, but we'll start doing surveys. But I'll go ahead and get them out there. And it's been too reliant. So actually Monday, I'm presenting the president with a reform to how we can be more proactive with the states through grants, but where you take the leading role, and we're only there on the very worst of the worst of the worst storms. There's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of money, and every governor knows how to play that, from public assistance to the disaster refund. There's so much waste that takes place. I'll use one prime example we're dealing with right now on a disaster, and you guys all see this, is you guys can clean up a backyard or clean up an area, and you can take it in a dump truck and haul it straight to a landfill and dump it. For us, for FEMA to reimburse you, you have to take it, because we can't go onto the property, you have to take it and put it beside the street. And once you put it beside the street, you got to separate it. And because different waste gets reimbursed in different ways, and so you have to touch it 3 times there, and then we have to load it up. We have to take it to a qualified landfill, and the qualified landfill, by the time we get it there, the cost to dump it is about 3 times what it would be for the state. So the dollars would go farther if we could just be proactive with the states with grants up front than for FEMA to come in and start paying it and reimbursing you for it. So that's part of the reforms. And the other one is we still have, the president has been really good. For some reason, the president gets a bad name because they say he's picking winners and losers on states. I can sit here and tell you right now, since I've been in office, he's approved more money for blue states than he has red states. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that most of your blue states are on the east and west coast. And your red states are majority in Midwest. So we don't have the same type of storms that you guys have, but we definitely deal with our tornadoes here. But a tornado probably isn't as wide, except some of them around here, as the hurricanes that hit some of our coastal properties. And so we do understand that. What we get the biggest complaint about is some of the back money that was never given out by the Biden administration. We have a tremendous backlog of COVID money and of disaster relief funding. Like 75% of my backlog that I have, that's in the tunes of billions, is held over from the Biden administration. Why it wasn't out the door, I don't know. But what it came to me when I came in, because that's what I get a call from most of you governors about, is when can we expect this relief money, is there was, for me to release it, I have to go back through and double check everything. Because the previous administration, not the previous secretary, the previous administration, the reason why it was never out the door is because it was never followed up. And so statutory speaking, I have 195 statutes that I have to follow, 195. I did not know this until the other day, that before I can send the money out, I have to verify. And so much of this is backlogged because it was never done. So 75% is held over from the Biden administration, 20% is held over from Trump 45 that was done in the last year that rolled into the Biden administration. So you could really say about 95% of it is held over from the previous administration that we are trying to clean up the backlog on. And that's the biggest thing that's holding up most of your money. Now, what's coming in now, we get it turned around pretty quick because we're hitting the boxes that they're coming in. But the reform, to go back to it, the biggest reform you're going to see, more responsibility is going to go back to the states. We need you to take care of your states. FEMA will be there on the very worst of the worst, not on every storm. And being proactive in that is where we will help. Fire mitigation, storm mitigation, storm water, bridges, infrastructure. We want roads that are constantly being washed out that we've rebuilt 15 times. That kind of stuff, we want to do a one fix and give you the responsibility to maintain it from there on.
Excellent. I also want to touch a little bit on cybersecurity. Cyber attacks are from criminals, our foreign adversaries. They continue to target our schools, hospitals, other critical infrastructure vital to our economies, our everyday life across the U.S. You know, you guys have been a vital partner in combating that cybersecurity threats, particularly since there's limits to what states can do with so many of these attacks originating from overseas. CISA, I think, oversees some of that. Can you talk a little bit about ways we can work together, continue to build up our cyber defenses and go back on the offense to beat these threats?
Well, I get a report every day. I haven't read my presidential daily briefing today, but I get a report every day, and it's always, there's something cyber constantly going on. CISA was really gutted, and we're trying to build it back up. And we're trying to build it back up with partnerships. At our NOC, where our CISA NOC is, we have really good cooperations with a lot of cities because we have a place to host almost every state if they want to come in and partner with us, if you want to assign somebody to us. And what happens with that, and the reason why that's so important, if you're willing to participate, it is a little bit of a cost on you guys, but we actually will pay for their housing. You pay for their salary, we'll pay for their per diem because they're an advantage for us to have them there. And it deconflicts stuff so fast. For instance, the incident in Miami. Because of that incident, the person that was assigned to us in the NOC at the time was from Miami. We were able to deconflict some cross information, and then we were able to access a lot of the traffic cameras, a lot of the city cameras they had up, a lot of the surveillance tools the city of Miami had, and we were able to locate and eliminate, and I wouldn't say eliminate, that's probably the correct word, stop the imminent threat that we felt that was coming. We can do that and repeat that in every state. We don't need everybody. We could have one person. Cyber is our new attack. Cyber CISA is going to be part of our drone threats. Right now, we have perimeters around our governor's mansion, around our capitals, around our sensitive sites, around training facilities, around prisons. we're all expecting a land attack. Somebody to come in with a truck and guns and knives and be, Rambo. That's not where the threat is today. The threat is the drone. The threat's what's coming overhead. We confiscated over 700 drones during FIFA, and we brought down over 2,000. Some of them were hobbyists, some of them were not. But that's where the threat is coming to. And our fences outside, the perimeters that we have built for them, doesn't exist. And it all deals with some part of cyber. And if nothing else, what cyber does is helps us grab what they're saying so we can start paying attention to where they're going. But there's some barriers that take place that the states have put up that we could use to break down. There's some companies that we could partner with that could partner with the state that won't partner with the federal government that we could help assist. But our adversaries know our loopholes and our limitations. And every day Iran, our GC, they're very limited on what they can do now because President Trump's effort there has knocked out a tremendous amount of their ability, but they still are a threat. North Korea is definitely a threat. Russia, China, every day they're trying to attack our infrastructure. And we know they're within our infrastructure. We also know about how far they're into the infrastructure too. We are constantly putting up firewalls. We're constantly fighting back on it. We're constantly closing up loopholes. By the way, anytime you get a warning for an upgrade system, you'd be surprised at how many municipalities don't pay attention to it. You'd be surprised how many states don't pay attention to it. You'd be really surprised how many companies don't pay attention to it. But there's a reason why we send out that warning that you need to upgrade your system, or you need to install this device, or you need to put this patch in place, because we've identified a threat that is either coming to you or it's already in. And they're constantly poking and trying to find out what's taking place. And sometimes something happens in your city and your state, and you have these adversaries that go out and take credit for it. We did that. No, they didn't. Every now and then, yes. Most of the time, it's a failure and a glitch in a system that you have that's all together, that's got the system tied in. But it's getting worse, and it's getting more and more technology. And with AI technology that's out there, with some of the worst kept secrets, but it's still classified technology that is out there that I'm sure most of you governors already read in, and if you haven't, you probably have just not looked at your paper. Some of the technology that's coming in today is going to make that even where they can access it even faster and can rebuild. As we're trying to get fixes, they're looking for holes, and so it's like cat and mouse, and that's just the world we live in today. So once you fix a system, all you did was fix it that hour, not even that day. You just fixed it that hour, because immediately when you fix it, they're running the same program where you found the hole to plug. They're running now a program to find another hole. And so this is, just get used to it. This is a new world we live in, and we're going to be fighting it. And there's no reason for you to fight it yourself. There's no reason for you just to be out there by yourself. Work with CISA. That's what we're here for, and we can partner.